All right, Aaron, what's happening, buddy? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. How's it going?
Awesome. Awesome, man. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, glad to be
Appreciate
here.
you. Appreciate you doing this with me, man. Yeah, so well, everybody, welcome to Real Live Talk. This is episode number 18, and I'm here with Aaron Hall. And normally, well, typically, not always, but these tend to go out earlier on during the day. The reason that we're coming at this at 6 p.m. Central Time is because Aaron is actually on staff on the night watch at IHOP KC, or in other words, the International House of Prayer in Kansas City in the Global Prayer Room. So he's on the night watch. Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about what that means? And well, anyway, that's the reason why we're doing this early, because this is kind of like, I don't know, I normally do these around noon or so on Mondays and Thursdays, but noon for me and most regular people out there is kind of like the middle of the night for you. So yeah, man, just tell us a little bit about like the night watch and the global prayer room and what you do there.
Yeah. So the Global Prayer Room is a 24/7 live stream of music and prayer. And so part of doing prayer and worship music 24/7 is they need people to sing and play at night. And so they have a section of worship teams that work from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. And those worship teams have bass players, drummers, singers, and then there are intercessors in the room who've committed to being there to pray. And so it's kind of a cool team, and we, um, yeah, we sleep during the
A
day.
cool team of crazy people.
Yeah,
Like let's unpack that a little bit, because I think it's absolutely amazing that you, along with so many people and many, many more people throughout the years that have, really dedicated their lives, first of all, to the House of Prayer, which, as you mentioned, is this 24/7 prayer movement that began, what, 20 something years ago, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
been
I
perpetual
mean,
prayer and worship going on at
yeah,
this point for how for I think it's like 25 years or something. Is that, am I
yeah.
exaggerating maybe? I don't know, but
The movement to do night and day prayer has been going on, I mean, really probably for thousands of years. There's a lot of
okay, right.
churches in
Yeah.
history that have been, wanting to kind of do the tabernacle of David style worship and prayer.
Yeah, man.
And it looked different, obviously, like in medieval times than it does today. But
Sure.
yeah, it's kind of in that same spirit and vein of, the Lord is worthy of night and day prayer, night and day worship. And
Mm.
so it's really neat, like being able to be a part of kind of like a modern movement. But yeah, I think IHOP has been like 24/7 for about 20 years. I think we had our
Wow.
20th year anniversary like last year, so probably 21 years
Okay.
technically.
Awesome.
Um, but I think they've been like doing night and day prayer probably longer than that,
Yeah,
awake
yeah, yeah, that makes
7,
sense.
I think, yeah, in like 1999. So,
Yeah, and so obviously what that means is that in order to have 24/7 prayer, and this is real, this is real, this is 24/7 for real.
yeah.
Like, unless something's changed, because I used to be a lot more connected with that world than I am right now, and, we can get into that a little bit too as we go forward here, but, it would be Christmas Day. There's people perpetuating 24/7 prayer in the house of prayer. Like,
Yeah.
it just keeps going without stopping. And so that means that there have to be people like you that have really completely readjusted the whole fabric of their lives and how they do life and how they sleep and shop and
Yeah.
and build relationships with people and all that kind of stuff, in order to be awake during the time of day that most people are typically resting. And so yeah, man, what has that been like? Just all of
Whew.
that.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I think, most of my life I've been kind of a night owl, and so being awake late at night has never been a problem. In fact, it has been a problem, but in the other
It
sense
has
that
been a
like,
problem.
I wouldn't be able to like go to sleep, or I would be waking up late, for
Okay.
school or for work. But yeah, I think I think of it like a third shift. There are people all over the world who work third shift, and whether it's a factory or a call center
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
different jobs, different stores are open 24/7. And so um yeah, it just makes sense that there ought to be people who are worshiping the Lord and providing um yeah, kind of a resource for people to worship and pray um
Mm.
in the middle of the night. And what's kind of nice about it too is live streaming it, people from all over the world can tune in. So like, well, I'm singing at 4 a.m. tomorrow. Um, there will be people tuning in from maybe Taiwan, which is where friends of mine actually just moved to from the House of Prayer,
Wow.
just for a season. And then, so it's neat thinking that, our prime time or whatever is also the prime time of a lot of people in other countries. So
Yeah.
it's kind of neat seeing the global connection, which is why they call it the global prayer room. But and probably for other reasons too. But it is kind of a global network hub for like prayer and worship. I feel like for different people um, from different cultures, languages. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's an amazing thing right there. What you just said kind of blew my mind because I don't know, I've never really thought about it in that way. But yeah, like people on the other side of the world, when you're there, uh, involved in this prayer movement throughout the night, t- midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., that there's people in other parts of the world that are like they're just getting up for work, and so they're starting their day with you guys. And there's other people that it's kind of like they can actually tune in and let it become part of their regular prayer time, whether it's in the morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. And obviously, they could do that at any time, throughout the day
yeah,
with whoever's on there. And so, yeah, that's beautiful, man. And then so there's also this movement, right, that has taken place where there's other prayer rooms all around the world, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, and I mean some of them are connected to the International House of Prayer and the Global Prayer Room here in Kansas City that I'm a part of, but there are prayer movements happening simultaneously from different streams in the church, different prayer
Yeah.
movements that we don't know of. But it's interesting because it seems like that's picked up a lot in the last 30, 40 years, where different churches are focusing more on prayer and specifically prayer with music too. So it's really neat being a part of that, but also kind of humbling because it's like this is so much bigger than any of us, and we all get to be kind of a part of a team of people pursuing this. And um, you know, and it's like there's so many facets to it. It's a pretty vast like topic, like prayer, worship, and then like
Yeah.
international community. So it's a very like so many ways, you know, to think about it. But it's also pretty simple. We're just there to minister to the Lord, um, because He's worthy of worship, and um, yeah, to bless the Lord, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I try to like kind of keep it simplified because at times it can feel a little overwhelming thinking
Mm,
about like I don't know, people tuning in or people even in the room there, sometimes it's like easy to get distracted in thinking about like, I wonder like who's in the room right now. I wonder what they're thinking about this prayer time, or I'm wondering if, like one of my friends who's in Taiwan, who was my team leader for a while. I wonder if they're tuning in. I wonder, it's just like you can start thinking too much, or at
sure.
least me, I think
Sure.
way too much sometimes about everything. So I have to kind of just be like, I'm just here to love the Lord and to sing to Him
Yeah.
in the night, and you know, try to keep it really simple and straightforward.
Yeah, man, that's
Yeah,
so good. He's 'cause just 'cause he's worthy and he deserves it. That's so good.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, well, can you get into just maybe a little bit of the heart behind 24/7 worship in general, and yeah, just a little bit of like the heart behind the Purim. You mentioned the Tabernacle of David, which
Mhm.
is basically the where the scriptural model for this comes from. How David recruited all of these worship leaders and singers to just perpetuate this 24/7 worship, in different times throughout, the history there in Israel. And so, yeah, man, if you would just get into maybe a little bit about the heart behind what this, prayer movement is all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like as you're saying with the Tabernacle of David. Yeah, when David starts building the temple, and he kind of like recruits thousands of people to build this like
Yeah.
incredible building, and then recruits thousands of people to staff this building, and like I think there's 4,000 singers
Yeah.
um
Yep.
and musicians, so this was like very large number of people who
Yeah.
staffed it day and night, and to offer just songs of worship and adoration. And it's tough, right? Because like there are a lot of scriptures about um prayer through, and talking to God, hearing from God, encountering God. And a lot of them specifically from the Psalms are about going to the tabernacle. Like Psalms 27 is a big scripture in our community. One thing have I desired.
Yeah.
So one thing I seek, to dwell, in the house of the Lord forever. And just thinking about like what that means is way bigger, especially knowing that, we as a church and even individually are now like a tabernacle or a dwelling place for the Lord.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, it's not necessarily the room itself, right? Like the prayer room itself or a specific church building. Um, but in a way, it kind of is too, because it's like it's a place for many people to gather together to meet with the Lord. So in
Yes.
a sense, the Lord is gathering there in that place where two or three are gathered. But it's, yeah, I guess I think the heart behind it is really um, to look to the future for the Lord to like fully realize his dream of being one with his people. and
Wow.
and so like a lot of our sets, we sing from some of the hymns in Revelation, and the scene of the Sea of Glass with people from every nation, tribe, and tongue, singing "Worthy is the Lamb," um, to receive all honor and praise, and dominion
Yeah.
and power, because he was slain
Yeah.
and has
Yeah.
redeemed us to God. So like these like really beautiful passages in scripture that I think sometimes I missed growing up.
Mm.
And I grew up in a church that like did talk about Jesus returning, and talked about communing with God and being a tabernacle for God's spirit. But I think being in a community that focuses on, no, this is actually moving things and shifting things in
Mm.
our own lives, but also in the world, to prepare for the Lord's return,
Yeah.
for kind of that full realization, that longing
Wow.
of all creation to see people walking out who they are in Christ.
Yeah.
And so it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's big. It's like a
Yeah.
big thing, but yeah, I think trying to like sum it up, like the heart behind it is really just to love the Lord with everything, and to
Mm.
kind of invite him in a deeper way to move us and to prepare us for
Yeah.
his return. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that's so good. So, because like it's the house of prayer, and a lot of the focus is obviously prayer and intercession, and there's a lot of focus on, justice, and just real. I mean, at times intense intercession, at times really intense intercession for
Mhm.
God to move throughout the earth. And you guys will maybe you'll highlight a particular nation or section of the world, or some,
Yeah.
there's sessions where they'll focus on the city there. They'll pray for the school system, just like really specific prayer. But what's really cool is how it always goes back and forth between prayer and worship, because
Yeah.
as you're saying, Jesus is the focus, and worship is really the backbone or the foundation of everything that goes on there, because it's all about the fact, like you said, that he's worthy, right?
Yeah.
It's all about highlighting who he is. And so focusing in on some of these passages of scripture that you're talking about and worshiping through these passages that really just unfold the beauty of who God is and his
Mhm.
glory and his holiness, and sort of like that being the kindling for the fire, that sort of being the foundational point
Yeah.
of where this prayer is coming from. Because if it was just, let's pray for 24 hours, 7 days a week until the end of time, then like that could get really old, I think, really
Yeah.
quickly. But going back and forth between worship and prayer, where it's always like, okay, we're in this intense intercession and it's awesome. And we're praying for the fire of God and the power of God and for people to be released from captivity and all this. But then we're right back into this place of just focusing in on who God is. So, in other words, we never lose the greatness and the just bigness and the awesomeness of who God is in
Mhm.
the midst of the things that we're praying for. So again, it really becomes that fire point of, this is what is fueling our prayer. This is what is fueling our passion to see these things happen. It's because it's all coming from the heart of God. And so we
Yeah.
focus in on him. And
Yeah.
so yeah, man, I remember, so like you and I have this connection
Yeah.
that
I have
I
some history
share
with this
with
actually. Yeah.
very few people.
Mhm.
So I met you at Bible college, right? I met you at
Mhm.
Elam, and then from there, my wife and I, we graduated. We were in the '07 class, and in 2008 is when we got married, and then we went and we started our ministry in Mexico. And the one of the very first things that I did in ministry, at least in full-time ministry, was to work in a house of prayer in Mexico. And the idea with this house of prayer, it was the Casa de Oración, in Mexico, and it was very much modeled after IHOP, what we tried anyway, the
Mhm.
structure of IHOP in terms of the intercession sessions, and then the worship with the word sessions, and time where we would spend focusing on prayer, on intercession, and then other times where we would focus on just the worship aspect and meditating on the word of God, and bringing out truth and promises from God's word and contemplating his beauty and holiness and all of that.
Mhm.
And so there was some of that influence. And so anyway, you came down and you spent, I think the other day you told me you spent about 3 months down
Mhm.
there in Mexico while we were down there. And so that's just a cool connection that we have. Like I said, that I share with very few people. Like, Tracy was there for a little while. Well, she was there for an extended period of time. Um, David Hofline came down for a little bit, and he was
Yeah.
there. Israel was there, and of course my
Mhm.
wife. But I think that's it, man. And so just that connection of like I knew you from Bible college, and then now we're in another country, and it was
Yes.
cool for me, being obviously an American and being in another nation and far from, how I grew up and my culture, and still like struggling through learning this language
Mhm.
called Spanish that it took me a while to really wrap my mind around. But anyway, just when you were there, it was just awesome, man. We had some good times.
Yeah.
Um, and did you have any inkling, like any idea? Well, I don't imagine you had any idea, but like being there and sort of having that opportunity to, because you were there serving in the house of prayer with us, and
Yeah.
helping us lead worship and playing your violin and singing and all of that, and learning Spanish, and just doing all that. And now all these years later, you're there, and that's where God has you right now for this season of
Mhm.
your life, serving in the global prayer room, which was such a big part of what we did back then, constantly watching the live streams, constantly paying attention to what IHOP is doing, and then, sort of getting ideas and stuff like that for what we were
Yeah.
doing in Mexico. Did you have any idea, even just being there in that place, that like one day you'd end up where you are now?
No. I mean, I think the idea of prayer and and music with prayer was something I liked the idea of it, but I don't know. I just remember thinking of it as a place where I would meet people and play music with friends.
Yeah,
and
man.
at the time I mean I was just coming um out of my internship from Elam. So I graduated 2008, like a year after you, right? And then it was funny because I don't think I knew that you were in Mexico until I got there. I
Yeah.
think I knew Israel was there, and he was in my class, and so I was just thinking, and Joel Catalan, he was also in my class,
Yeah.
and so I was like, oh, these guys are in Morelia, and I like want to go visit them. So I just made a point to go visit, and ended up being like, well, I have the time. I'm not working. Might as well stay here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was cool because I, enjoyed playing music with the worship team. It was at Vida Abundante, right? And like
Yep.
that whole church community was pretty big. So it was cool to meet a lot of different people. And you were doing youth ministry as well. And so it was cool to kind of be like, oh, Duke's here and,
Yeah.
he's doing youth ministry. And I think we even went, I remember going on like a youth retreat at one point. To like this really
Yeah, man.
beautiful like area out in the countryside, and like there's baptisms, and um yeah, it was such a, I don't know, a pivotal time for me, I think,
Mm.
because I was really learning what I enjoyed and like wanted to do in life. And um doing music with Enrique Lucatero.
Yeah.
He wrote some really beautiful songs around that time, um, and they really like gripped my heart. And so
Mm.
it was interesting because like I didn't realize it at the time, but the Lord definitely was putting some seeds in my heart to worship the Lord in Spanish, and to have a heart for the Latino community, and also just, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like a fun time. Honestly, I wasn't
Yeah.
really thinking about like the implications for later, other than like I would love to live there. I still would love to live there, and maybe will one day again. I don't know, but I just really, uh, yeah, just was having fun is how I saw it. And so it is really weird that like years later, I think probably what would it be, like 4 or 5 years later, ended up in Kansas City at the House of Prayer.
Yeah, and what's even crazier is that okay, so you told me last time we talked that like the way that you got invited to come and start serving in the house of prayer was to basically lead worship in Spanish, right? It
Yeah.
was yeah, go ahead and tell me that story again.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, I moved to Kansas City with the idea of like uh, maybe starting a band with some friends. Our buddy Matt LaPresta, who also went to Elam,
Yeah.
and so him and his wife moved down around the same time, and like we were talking about, maybe starting to write music, and I was thinking just starting a new life in the Midwest, which felt really distant at the time, and now it's like I live here. But yeah, I just wanted to like move here and do something different with my life. Ended up doing an internship at Hope City, which is a smaller house of prayer,
Mm,
connected to the Global Prayer Room, and it was an internship option with IHOP at the time, and
gotcha.
still is, I believe. But yeah, I just hopped into that internship to do inner city ministry and to kind of get the lay of the land in Kansas City. And like, I think it was about halfway through the internship, someone just grabbed me out of a class and was like, "Hey, they don't have a worship leader for this Spanish set. You speak Spanish, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "And you led worship before, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Would you be able to like lead worship for this prayer meeting?" And so I kind of was like, "Well, I guess I could. Like, I could try it, And I kind of wanted to like see what it would be like. And it's funny
Mhm.
because I think most of the songs I knew were actually Kike songs. So I like used his songs for
Yeah.
worship. And, yeah, I led worship for that set for years after that.
Wow,
And it was
man.
such a beautiful prayer meeting there because it's like, in a poor neighborhood. And um, yeah, it's a very diverse neighborhood too. And so it was cool to be able to pray for the Latino community locally here in Kansas City,
Mm.
but also praying for the Latino community um, worldwide. So it was really a cool prayer meeting, um, and yeah, what a trip though, because I really like didn't see the setup. I just was like, now
Yeah.
I'm here in Kansas City, and they want me to lead worship, and
Yeah.
that ended up being a huge part of my ministry for a long time here.
That's awesome. And wasn't it also like, hey, the service is starting right now. Like we need
Yeah,
you to come and lead worship in Spanish right now.
yeah. No, I didn't have time to like get ready. Really,
Yeah.
they basically like pulled me out of class. I think I had like 20 minutes to like figure out what I was gonna do, meet some people who were there, and it was pretty rough. It was definitely like I think it was a pretty rough
I
set.
can
I don't
imagine.
really remember much from it, but yeah, it was a good start still. So,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it's beautiful because it, you know, I don't know, it's just weird because like that whole time in my life, I still wasn't even thinking of doing ministry full time,
Mm.
or doing
Yeah.
it for a long time at least, and
Yeah.
so it was kind of cool because the Lord kind of hooked me into continuing in the house of prayer through that set. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Even that, like for some people, they know, they know God tells them, God shows them like this is what you're gonna be doing, and they're excited about it. And then for other people, like God kind of has to like rope you into it. And
Yeah.
and then like once you're like you said, like the setup, like he kind of set you up for it. But once you're in it, then you start to realize like he starts to reveal like that there's passion there for it that maybe you didn't even, realize was there before. It's just
Mhm.
cool how he knows what we all need and
Yeah.
how and when we need it and all of that. I
Yeah.
like I never had an idea of like yeah, I want to minister in Mexico. Like that was never
Mhm.
on my radar at all. And um but I did have an affinity for like learning Spanish like in high school. I took it for more years than I needed to. Like I kept sticking with it. I kept taking it because I wanted to learn. And I still didn't know a whole lot when I got there, but I did have some like foundational understanding of how the language worked, which was helpful.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when you came down, like you picked up the language really fast. Like you were there for 3 months, and in that period of time, I don't know how long I had been there before that, but I think when by the time you got through, like you probably knew as much Spanish as I did. And I had been there for a
Yeah.
while before that. I remember getting a text message from you one day in Mexico of just like, I don't know. I think you were coming over and you were asking, should I bring something or whatever? But it was like
Yeah.
the way that you phrased it in the message. I just remember it like, dude, like he speaks better Spanish than I do. Like, what, what is this? And it took me a little while, but yeah, you just had this sort of, I don't know, this ability to pick it up quickly. What do you know what that was or why that was?
Yeah. Like you, I spent a lot of time in high school studying Spanish, like more, I took more classes than was required. And then
Hmm.
I think one of them was like a college class actually in high school. Um,
Awesome.
and so that was part of it. And then I don't know, maybe just speaking and like I kind of tried to throw myself into it. I remember actually arguing with Israel sometimes because he would like want me to speak to him in English, and I'd be like, "No, speak to me in Spanish." And
That's
so we would
good
like go
right
back
there.
and forth a lot
Yeah.
between the two languages. And um, I remember like going to a couple birthday parties where like no one was speaking English, and that was helpful because it kind of forced me to have conversations in Spanish. But yeah, I don't know. I like really wanted to pick up the language, and there's something, I don't know if you relate to this, but like there's something really cool, like maybe emotionally, especially in worship or in like singing to the Lord, where when you're singing in a different language, it like connects to you differently or in like a fresh way because the words aren't as familiar to you, so it's
Mm.
not as like, it's almost like you're creating a new pathway in your mind, with a new language for connecting to God. And it's really, it like kind of shakes you up because you're like confirming, like, oh, this is
Wow.
real. Like the Lord is real in Spanish too, you know?
Yeah, man.
And
Well, it was
it's
definitely
pretty cool.
different. It was definitely different, and I really do. I love singing in Spanish. I love worship songs in Spanish. I mean English too. I love both. I think as far as like regular worship leading, I probably love singing or leading worship in Spanish maybe more than in
Mm,
English, at least as much, but maybe more. But the thing that was challenging for me that I always wished when we were doing like a worship with the word set or something like
mhm.
that, where we were reading through scripture and then singing through singing through it and then bringing out prophetic and spontaneous songs and stuff like that. I always wish that I could do it in English because at the time my Spanish wasn't um well, at the end it was better obviously, but like when we started in the house of prayer doing these sets, my Spanish wasn't as good as it is now. And so it was kind of like it was challenging to find the words, and I found myself like just singing the same stuff over and
Yeah.
over again, you know what I mean? But so there were times with that when it was like the singing through stuff and having to kind of like invent your own song in the moment that was challenging that I wished I could have been doing that in English. And there were times early in the morning, man, because our first set in the morning that I would lead worship for was from 6 to 8 a.m.
Oh,
And
wow.
so sometimes people would come in and then they would leave. And sometimes it would just be like, it'd be me, my wife would be singing, and we'd have a drummer. Sometimes we'd have somebody on bass or guitar. Very rarely we'd have somebody on the keys. So it was a very small set, like me on, guitar with like a drummer. And so it would be very basic. And there were times where uh, one or two people that were in there would leave. And so we'd have maybe 10, 15 minutes where it was just empty and it was just us. And so I would just look at my wife and then we would just start singing in English.
Yeah.
We would just switch it up. And then as soon as somebody
Mhm.
came back in, we'd go, Eres hermoso Dios, and just go back
Yeah.
into Spanish. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it was interesting for sure. Yeah.
That's really funny. Yeah, with spontaneous singing, even in English, it's hard to think of phrases sometimes, or it feels like I'm singing the same phrase over and over again. So, um, but yeah, I think even now I do.
You see that?
Yeah, I can see that. Uh,
Okay. We're
um,
we have a request to sing.
yeah. Oh
I'm pretty sure
man.
she's talking to you, so, no,
Okay.
keep
I
going, man.
mean, there's no way to be sure, really, right? But man, I'm trying to think of what's a good song that when you said Eres Hermoso, I was thinking of the um, John Thurlow song, um, Jesus, You're Beautiful, which
Yeah,
I
man.
don't even know if I really sang that in Spanish, but um, other than like a few, just probably that chorus.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we got a new comment. Here we
Oh, I
go.
missed
She
it.
said, "Both of you guys."
Uh, well, well, I'll let you pick the song because I don't know
I don't think I wanna subject our listeners to that.
the singing.
To
Yeah,
me to me singing. You singing is would be fine. I'm down for that. I actually thought about, asking you to bring your violin and play for a few minutes.
Oh,
What were you doing? That would've been cool. We'll have to do that next
yeah,
time.
yeah.
I
Next
loved
time
that,
would be
man. I loved it so much when we did some sessions in the house of prayer with you on violin, like, oh, such a beautiful sound, and, oh, man. Yeah, just it adds such a different dynamic, I think, just to worship and to the flow and all of that. And so
yeah.
um now in the house of prayer, do you mainly sing? You do some violin playing, but it's mainly singing, or how does that work?
So right now I'm only singing
Okay.
for the most part. I mean, there are times where I might sub for an acoustic guitar player. Every now and then, a worship leader will ask if I could play violin for a set, and I might say yes. Or maybe there's a couple other string players at Night Watch actually. So sometimes we try to like get together and like do a set where there's a few strings, which is really fun. Um, yeah, Alicia Detterman, who's a worship leader at Night Watch, really like amazing musician, and she leads from keys, but she also plays violin, and a lot of people don't know that. So it's really fun when her and another worship leader, Angela Yang, when we're all able to like play together and do kind of like a trio.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, we haven't done that in a
That's
while.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the fun part too, is like, being able to kind of switch it up and collaborate with different teams. And we had some, pretty awesome musicians that we could pull from, like in Mexico, like at the church there that we could, pull from and just ask to, hey, could you help me out with my set here? And sometimes, man, like there were days where it was, man, I remember being in there from like 6 to 8 leading worship, and then someone comes in for the 8 o'clock session, and then they're like, "Oh, so and so can't make it. Can you just keep going?" It's like, "What?" So it goes from a 2-hour set to an impromptu, now it's a 4-hour set, just, like, straight of, you know, playing and singing and and leading worship, and it gets tiring, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I love one of the things that I've always loved since we, really started following, what was going on in the global prayer room, what is just like the level of excellence that goes into what they do, or what you guys do, like the seamless like transitions between worship teams. Obviously it's been going on for a long time, so there's been a lot of practice, but you know, like the depth of quality of worship that comes out in the music, even in songs, spontaneous songs, and then all the music that comes out and has come out of there,
Mhm.
that's just, having an impact all around the world. Just like the level of commitment, the level of excellence that goes into everything that's done there is, it's pretty awesome,
Yeah.
you know?
It's it's amazing the people that come from so many different places globally, and then across, North America. It's pretty cool to see different musicians from all over the place come together and like, yeah, no, it's a very, I mean, yeah, especially doing it for 20 years. Like they do have things like transitions, and they got really great sound system and amazing sound techs. They're like a huge part of what we do, because it's like without having a good sound tech, you can't really like,
Yeah.
make it onto the web stream
Yeah.
sounding okay.
Sure.
And and there are, times where, you know, things can sound a little bit rough, or it's not like perfection of sound is the idea anyway, but it is really cool to see that spirit of excellence that you're talking about, and
Mhm.
to be a part of that. And I've learned a lot and been challenged a lot too. So it's been really cool to be there.
Yeah.
Really good for me.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I'm trying to get away from asking these pandemic questions because I
Oh
feel like like everyone I talk to, "So what was it like in the pandemic?" Like I'm getting
yeah.
tired of that question, but I am legitimately curious in this case because with the pandemic, with the lockdown and everything, like obviously this is a big thing. You guys were already, I mean, IHOP has been live streaming around the world for years, and so all of that was already set up, but what was that like? But with all of these people, all of these teams, and people that come in from all around the world regularly just to be in the house of prayer, like just to be there for a day or for a few days or for a week. I mean, even mission teams coming in and just like all these different things that happen. It's not there's a lot more going on there and a lot more people passing through there than I think you would realize by just
Mhm.
watching it on like, just watching the live stream. And so there's so much activity going on all the time. I'm just wondering, like, what was the adjustment like for you guys during the lockdown and everything?
Yeah, it was an adjustment. They actually they really, especially in the beginning, uh, did like the utmost to really follow, local guidelines, CDC guidelines, to really keep everyone safe. And so in the prayer room, usually it's open like pretty much 24/7. Sometimes they might close to the public to clean or do, different updates. But yeah, it's the prayer is going on
Mm,
24/7, with musicians and everything. So it's uh yeah, they basically restricted the amount of people that could be in the room, um, to 10 people. So that
Okay.
meant we had to reduce the amount of people on stage. And so
Right.
we would have a prayer leader, a sound tech, and 7 or 8 people on stage. Um, I guess it would be 7 people normally because we would have a section leader in the room as well. So, and then there are like little side rooms that kind of like go around
Yeah.
on like the edge of the prayer room. And so, full time staff who wanted to be there, it became kind of like you're not required to come in, but we want you on
Mm.
the live stream at least praying with us. Um, they, or if you were there before your set, whatever, you would go into a
Yeah.
side room and pray in that side room with maybe one other person, but they didn't want more than like 2 people in
Wow.
one room. And then we were all wearing masks and there's hand sanitizer everywhere. It's funny, all of the like RSS, which is like a in-ear monitor system
Yeah.
that you get to kind of control the volume and kind of do your own mix of the instruments, that
Mhm.
some people before the pandemic happened would like clean that off with like a little like disinfectant rag or whatever and clean off the microphone and the stand and everything. And I always used to think, because I've never been like a germophobic guy, even though I
Yeah.
like studied, some of the
Yeah.
like, the science behind why germs do what they do at Elam actually. But yeah, I like never did that. And I always was like, nah, that's not important. And then during the pandemic, we all had to do that. So we would like go out onto stage, clean off the RSS, and kind of disinfect everything um, before we would like start singing or start playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
intense. It was a big shift in like how we did it, and they had to adjust everything, and it was difficult and hard to like not be around people, but also really cool that we were able to continue during
Yeah.
that time because so many people were not able to continue different aspects of ministry. Like at Hope City,
Yeah.
they closed to the public, which for them, they still gave out food, but it was just hard because it was a really good meeting place for so many people in the
Mm.
community.
I gotcha.
So it really did affect, um, you know, our community in a big way. But, you know, thank God that we were able to keep it going and keep
Yeah.
doing. We would have done it probably, you know, in one way or another. We even talked for a while about like, the possibility of like, what if I think they call it a bubble, right? Where you like have like a group of people who are like,
Yeah.
we're just not going to leave this bubble and like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
hang
Like
out together. And if
the
one of us
NBA
gets sick,
did
we
that,
all
right?
get sick.
Yeah.
So like I remember having a couple conversations like, is that going to happen with the prayer room or like prayer room staff and so yeah, it's that's a whole big topic though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Yeah, I can imagine like being in that place. Well, I remember you were not in Mexico with us at the time when we had the like the outbreak of the H1N1. Were you there during that?
No, I wasn't. I think I remember
Okay.
when that happened though. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was I don't know. I don't even really know how bad it was here because I wasn't here. I was in Mexico at the time. Yeah, that might have been like my first year down there. So
Oh,
that
maybe it
might
was
have been
before your
before
thing.
you were there
Okay.
if I had to guess. But anyway, yeah, man, so it was like the H1N1 was a big deal in Mexico. And we had to shut down. We couldn't have church. I think it was only for a couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks, something like that. But there were all these like restrictions placed on, you know, you couldn't be indoors unless it was like ventilated in a certain way. We had to wear the masks all the time. We were walking around like we didn't have to limit what we did in terms of like the staff being in the church as far as I can remember.
Mhm. Oh no. I don't know if I just lost you.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
There we are.
I'm not sure what happened there. 'Cause
Oh,
we both went out, it wasn't just you, it was me too. I'm not sure
yeah.
what happened there.
Huh.
But anyway, yeah, so hopefully we're still as far as I can tell, we're still, broadcasting here.
Yeah. It looks like we're still live.
But yeah, man, it was just like the whole thing with like the masks, and it felt crazy. But I remember having a meeting back then,
Mhm.
um, with on Andre Speaker was leading the meeting, and we had a staff meeting back then where we were talking about how like this could be like a preparation moment for like any kind of crazy stuff that could go on in the future,
Yeah.
with like having to figure out how to innovate and do things differently, and how to still get the word out to people, and how to still minister to people. And it was just, we had to figure stuff out for then, but then it was also just this sort of almost like it felt anyway like a training ground for like who knows, what's going to happen in the future and what we're going to have to do. And yeah, but it was crazy. Um I don't remember why I was talking about
Well, we
that
were talking about,
in
yeah, like
particular, but
pandemic and like having to shift how you do ministry and how you,
yes, yeah.
yeah, for whatever's happening currently to keep people safe. And, yeah, it's a whole, and of course there could be more changes, in the future, or other, uh, you know, hopefully no more pandemics for a while,
Yeah, hopefully
but
not.
like, who
Hopefully
knows
not.
what could happen in the future, and just being ready uh, to alter how we do ministry, I think, and be flexible,
Yeah,
is
man.
really important.
Yeah, and so it sounds like you guys operated in the same way that a lot of the churches operated,
Mhm.
in terms of just a reduced team that goes in and either records the thing, like, a lot of churches did it that way where they recorded live. Other churches did it where it was, a live stream that was happening as they were doing it. Not recorded live, excuse me, where they recorded and then broadcast it, as a live
Yeah.
stream, but a pre-recorded stream. And then others did it, where it was a live stream happening right then in the moment. But it's just crazy that you guys, I mean, for most churches that had to do that, it was, Sunday morning and then maybe on a Wednesday night or something like that. But you
Mhm.
guys doing it constantly around the clock,
Yeah.
as always, and just keeping the fire burning, man. It's
Yep.
just, it's awesome.
Yeah. And
So,
in a way, that actually made it easier for us because we already had all of the equipment. We'd already
right, right.
uh, been live streaming services for years. So it was a pretty, in some ways, I think because there's so many people involved, that was the hard part, kind of
Hmm.
managing everybody and like
Yeah.
getting everybody to where they're supposed to be and doing what they're supposed to do. But I think with as far as like live streaming, and like that wasn't a learning curve. It was just like, all right, well, here we go,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's it's definitely been like a learning process, and I think we're still learning from everything. And in Missouri, like cases have spiked really high, um, and just because in a lot of ways, certain places haven't taken it as seriously or whatever. So it's like
Mm.
it's really sad to see like I have friends who are doctors who are like overwhelmed with cases now,
Wow.
um, and like frustrated because so many people are coming in with a serious infection, um, and so it is
Mm.
kind of it's been a really rough time. And I think too, just the fear of not knowing certain things, or not knowing if information is good or bad, and all of that can really like cause people to despair. And so,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think trying to like maintain hope and like that focus on the Lord being a source of strength, and
Yeah.
Him being our source was really important during that time. And so I'm really grateful that I was serving at the House of Prayer during that time. It opened my eyes to a lot of different things, which we can't get into all of it,
Yeah.
but especially just like the need to hear the Lord clearly, and
Mm.
to have a place of comfort. So I hope, that like being able to tune into the 24/7 live stream, and I believe probably for a lot of people that was a comforting and um, encouraging thing when you're stuck at home and can't go to church.
Yeah, man. I mean, what an incredible resource that, I mean, I think that maybe a lot of people aren't even aware of. Um, it's so simple, ihopkc.org, right?
Yep.
ihopkc.org, and right on the homepage is just like watch live, I think it says, or
Yep.
something like that.
It's on
Um,
YouTube too. So like if
yeah.
you're on YouTube a lot, they do the live stream there 24/7 as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible resource, like, to tap into for, I mean, literally any moment of the day. If you just wanna get into worship and you need a prompting, or you just feel like you need some help getting there, you're not feeling it or whatever, like, hey, there are people right now worshiping 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and, it's just, it's so cool, the accessibility of what's there, and even the accessibility, like, I remember how accessible, Mike Bickle's teachings and, like, a lot of
Mhm.
different teachings of IHOP were even back then, like, how accessible it was just to go and just, "Hey, download all of my stuff," and
Yeah, it's
just yeah.
I remember you and Denise did a lot of translation work at the time, right? Like you
Yeah, that's
translated a
right.
lot
Well,
of
Denise did.
I just remember like, well, you were a part of it though, because I remember you were like, I don't know, you were both working on it and organizing files and like all this information. I think at one point you handed me, and at the
Yeah.
time it like was not important to me, unfortunately. I just remember thinking this is important, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think you handed me like
Thanks for
big
this.
sorry.
There
But
get
I wish I would have like really invested time into that. I just remember being impressed with how much you guys were doing in terms of taking so much teaching and like the Harp and Bowl model and all of that. Which, if people don't know, like Harp and Bowl just is a reference to Revelation about worship before God in the throne room and the bowls of prayers of the saints
yes.
that gets poured out. So, kind of the idea of like filling up those those bowls of prayer um, right now and
Yeah.
how we pray and worship. But yeah, it's just it's kind of like a model for how we do worship and prayer in the prayer room. But yeah, both of you dove into that and were translating and really seeking to understand it. And I remember being really impressed with that. And like it's cool remembering that now. Also, a memory that came up because you were talking about that text message.
Uh-huh.
We spent Thanksgiving together in Mexico,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
my
man.
brother was there. He like flew down for the holiday,
That's right.
and
Oh,
so
that's crazy.
and Israel was there, and Joel was
Yeah.
there, and we just hung out and
Mm.
ate tons of food.
It's like a Friendsgiving, man.
It was
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. It was
Was
really
that in my apartment, or
that
is
was in your
that was in
apartment.
my
Yeah.
apartment, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you guys hosted. I'm still very grateful for that. That was that's like a really meaningful moment in my life being there with all of you. So that I don't know.
That's so
That
cool,
was a
man.
really sweet memory that came up. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, how cool is that? Like, yeah, because yeah, just all being together. Because I remember that being an issue for me was Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
in Mexico, because I was like, "Oh, like, I love Thanksgiving." Like, I like Thanksgiving more than Christmas. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, and so, being in another country, and, like, the first Thanksgiving that we were there for, the first year, I just remember kinda being a little bit bummed out, because 'cause I'm like, can't
Hmm.
really get a turkey, can't, it was just, trickier. So, we did something, like, we celebrated it with my mother and father-in-law, my brother-in-law, but yeah, so it was really cool that year when you were there. It was probably that second Thanksgiving that I was there, is what I'm thinking, is probably the season when you were down there.
Hmm.
But, yeah, man, it was great. I'm glad you brought that up. It was a good
Yeah.
good memory, good times with friends, and everybody brought something, and,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure. I remember, oh, that's what that was. I remember, tell me if this is the same event. I believe I borrowed one of the big flat screen TVs from the church to set up in my apartment so we could watch the football games, because the
Yep.
Giants were actually playing that particular
Yes.
Thanksgiving, which
Mhm.
doesn't usually happen. I was super pumped. It was a good day.
That was a really
Pretty
good
sure
day.
they lost. If I don't remember, but
Yeah,
anyway,
right. Maybe they won. I don't remember.
I don't remember, but it feels like they lost. Most of my memories are of them losing, because they do it so much, unfortunately. Are you a Bills fan, or
I I am and I'm not. It's kind of funny. Both my parents are from the Buffalo area, and so in a way, I am hopeful. I've been excited like the last couple of years that they've been doing a lot better.
Good stuff's coming,
Um,
man.
yeah.
I mean,
So
great stuff has already happened. It's been awesome
yeah,
watching them, but
and I'm not like a huge football fan in general. So for me, it's like it's not something that I like, um, keeping updates on. But
do
being
you
able to
like the
hear
real football
people,
better?
what's that?
Do you like real football
I
better?
like real football better.
You
Yeah.
do?
Uh-huh. I mean, that's what I played in high school, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed I haven't really played much, and yeah, but it's cool hearing like people here in Kansas City, and they've won, a couple Super
Yeah.
Bowls or whatever recently. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool hearing them talk about the Bills as like, a worthy opponent at times, even though like, we got kind of crushed by Kansas City this last year. But it's still kind of cool hearing like people talk about Buffalo and the Bills and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
but again, like I'm not. I wish I could get my brother is super into like following sports. He teaches tennis now. He's a tennis instructor,
Wow.
and
That's awesome.
his favorite tennis player, Novak Djokovic, just
Yeah.
won Wimbledon. It was like 20th big victory, so he's like ranked as like one of the best tennis players in the
Yeah,
world.
man.
So that was pretty cool to see recently. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, I probably like both probably about equally American football and real football. Uh
Hmm.
um but yeah, I played real football. I never played American football.
Okay.
Um well we called it soccer, of course.
Yeah.
But, you know. But
Hmm.
yeah. So I was gonna ask you something else. Do you miss tacos, man? Like, do you miss tacos from Mexico? So I know you're a
Oh,
vegan now,
yeah. I do.
but
I miss the experience. And it's interesting because I think even when I was in Mexico, I ate more of a vegetarian diet, even though I
okay,
wasn't vegetarian. I
okay.
remember like kind of leaning into that at the
Well, they've
time.
got good vegetables and good fruit in
Yeah,
Mexico. Like, it's really easy to find good stuff without spending
yeah.
a
Those
lot of
like
money on it.
those gazpachos, like those like
Yeah, man.
fruit salad.
Denise misses those so much.
Oh, I like dream about those sometimes. And like tortas ahogados, like the ones that they would just like soak a torta in like some sort of sauce.
Yeah,
Those
man.
were incredible. There's so many meals that I missed there. Um, yeah, I think there's actually a really cool spot. It's just called the Corner Mexican Restaurant, not too far from the Prayer Room here in Kansas City,
Mhm.
and they have really great vegan tacos. And
Really?
like, yeah, they just like found some really good, like soy replacements and things like that. And they even use like mushrooms and a flour of some sort to like, I don't know, they have it's some really creative Mexican food, and it's not super expensive. So I love
That's
going
awesome.
there, and I might go there tonight now because
Because now I'm
you're
not gonna
making
be
me
able to get it
hungry
out of my
again.
head. Yeah. I love meat, and I'm sorry, but somebody one time fixed me a vegan burger,
Hmm.
and it was amazing, dude. Like, I don't even know. I was at somebody's house, and I was on an insurance appointment. Like, I was selling insurance to these people, and they asked me if I wanted to eat with them,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I didn't see what she did. I don't know what she did in the kitchen, so I don't know. It might have come out of
Yeah.
a box. I don't even know, but it was amazing, and it was supposedly a vegan burger, and
Yeah.
it was absolutely delicious. I was like, you know what? If I could eat like this all the time, I might be able to do this. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
there's definitely good stuff out there for sure.
Oh yeah. There's especially today. There's like
Yeah,
all sorts of new options coming out every day, and it's kind of fun to like try different things. But yeah, I mean, I don't miss it. I used to kind of miss certain meats like salami, like
oh
just some
yeah,
of the spice stuff. But
yeah,
now it's like I love it. I feel great on it, and
yeah,
yeah. But it's like a fun thing to see all the new. Like I think the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Burger are like the two like really well known ones right now. But I kind of just like the traditional like black bean burgers and that kind of
Okay.
stuff.
Well, I've heard that the Impossible Burger is like terrible for you though. Is that true?
I mean, yes and no. It's like it's a I mean, and people have, of course, a myriad of opinions on it, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think it does actually have like a similar form of iron that can kind of cause problems in your bloodstream, and it's pretty high in like
Okay.
saturated fat. So cholesterol usually only comes from animal fat, and so
Right.
I don't think it has cholesterol in it, but it does have a pretty high amount of saturated fat, and it's processed pretty heavily, and there's heme iron, which is also found in animal meat. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a form of iron that we can absorb pretty readily, but there's some studies that show it can cause problems in the bloodstream. Anyway, so it's
Yeah.
like not really might be like slightly better than eating a normal Burger King Whopper. You know what I mean? It's like
Right, right,
it's
right.
not necessarily like
Yeah.
healthy, but it's also
So
not.
it's there though, like for somebody
Yeah,
that just wants to grab something and they want to grab some fast food, but they,
yeah.
they're on a either they're vegan or they're on a vegan diet or whatever.
Hmm.
And so, but yeah, probably just like anything else, like you don't want to have a Whopper every day of your life. You don't want to have
Exactly.
an Impossible Burger either, but like every
Yeah.
once in a while, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, hey man, before I let you go, I wanted to
Mhm.
ask you about the meaning of so if we look at you on Facebook, your name doesn't come up as Aaron Hall. Your name comes up as tell me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Damulira Aaron is how you have it, and I'm just curious about what's behind that.
Yeah, so
Say it. You say it because I probably
I
just said it wrong.
I say it Damulira.
Okay.
I think Damulira is probably a fine pronunciation too. It's a Ugandan name, and in 2013, I went with a friend of mine, Jesse Sprinkle, and this other
Oh, cool.
musician from Rochester, Kurt Johnson, and we went to record different songwriters in Kampala,
Hmm.
and it was really an
Wow.
incredible experience. And actually, a little plug, hopefully soon. It's been almost 8 years, and we haven't released this project yet. We've released like
Wow.
kind of done a couple pre-release options, and did a printing of CDs for our friends in Uganda who worked on the project, to kind of like share with everybody because it's just it had been so long. But we're still looking for a way to release it, and so that people will hear it and hopefully have an impact for that community. There's so many like beautiful styles of hip hop and kind of like a fusion of reggae and like just East African rhythms that it's
Mm.
just like
Yeah.
really cool music is coming out of East Africa right now. So yeah, the name came. We went to visit some friends at a smaller town outside of Kampala, and we just really connected with this family. Jesse had been friends with them for years,
Mm.
and that tribe, and I think a lot of tribes in Uganda, there are kind of family names that just kind of get passed on, kind of like you might have Frank Jr., Frank Sr.,
Yeah.
Frank Jr. the third. It's not exactly like that, but basically like there are certain like names that kind of get passed on, and Damalira was a family name for the pastor and his family, and so
Mm.
one of my friends was named Damalira Patrick, and so they wanted to give me the same name, so
Oh,
they
that's
called
so
me
cool.
Damalira Aaron, and
So you're part of the family. It's
yeah,
awesome.
so that was really cool, and I wanted to kind of keep that connection to my friends there, so I use that as a Facebook name.
So cool, man. I
Yeah.
love it. Very cool. Um, yeah, man. Well, do you have any idea on the like any inkling as to like a release date for the project?
Um, we haven't set a firm date yet, but our hope is before the end of the year. I
Awesome.
think we were hoping to release it this summer. Um, like we were hoping to release it earlier, like even last year, but just with the pandemic and all three of us do other different forms of full-time music, and so um, it's been busy and kind of crazy. And then Yeah, it's a long story, but
Yeah.
yes, hopefully before the end of the year and maybe look in the fall. The project's called Paradise Uganda. If you want to follow us on
Mm,
Instagram or like us on Facebook, we're on both of those platforms. And paradiseuganda.org is our website. So, but yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping like maybe by September even we'll have at least a song or a single out for people to listen to, and yeah, that would be really great.
awesome, man.
Yeah,
Did I spell paradise wrong just now?
Paradise you got. Nope, you got it.
Okay. It just
Yep.
looks
I
just
think the
doesn't.
SEU, that where the
Yeah.
words meet, it looks funny, but it yeah, that's it.
So paradiseuganda.org. That sounds amazing, man. I would love it if maybe just like keep me posted
Yeah,
on that after it gets released. I'd love to have you back on and maybe talk a little bit about that. I would love that if you're down for that.
I would love that. That would be really great.
So
Um,
cool. You know, it'd be funny if you just said like no right now. Like if you were just like if you're just like no, I really this is a terrible
no, sorry.
experience and I don't ever want to talk to you again.
Sorry. Yeah, this is a one-time thing.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I
No,
don't
I
think
would love that. This
I'm
has
not
been
gonna
really
have the time. I'm busy that day.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, "We haven't scheduled anything yet, though." Yeah, no, I'll be
No, I'm
busy that
busy. I'm
day.
busy. I'm for sure busy that
Mhm.
day.
I was
Uh,
trying to think of, for our friend who asked about, singing a song before we go, I was trying to think, like, what line
well,
there's
it could be one of Kike's songs
that's what I was
because
thinking.
that was Kike's mother right there.
Yep.
Um,
I
but you're
think
on your own if you wanna sing. I
okay.
apologize. I'll
Um,
beatbox for you if you want, but
uh,
my
um,
guitar is right there. I could grab it, but
would that work? Like, we could try it.
oh, man.
I don't
I'm
wanna,
a
like, put it might be weird too with, like, the delay. I don't know. There might be a delay, I'm not sure. I've never actually done, like, done music with people through the internet before, which I should have at some point, but, anyway, I was thinking,
Yeah, I just thought
probably,
about
like,
that.
one of his well-known songs, um, what is it called? What's the name of it? Um, aw, she just said, "Love you tons."
Oh, here we go. This one's
Um,
nice too. Thank you so much for these messages and comments.
yeah,
We love you so much. Thank you.
uh mejor es tu amor que el vino. Mi alma te ama, mi alma te ama. Mejor es tu amor que el vino. Mi alma te ama, mi alma te ama. No hay un placer que sea mayor, un deleite superior que habitar en tu morada, mi Dios. No hay un placer que sea mayor, un deleite superior que habitar en tu morada, mi Dios. Te amo, Cristo. It kind of continues from there, but that
So good.
song, yeah,
Beautiful. Beautiful words.
always, yeah, just hit me right in the heart. And I
Mm.
sang the song, I don't know, sometimes every time we would do a Spanish set at Hope City, just because, yeah, it didn't get old.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I yeah, I miss it. Well, I still every once in a while I get to lead worship in Spanish these days, but it's rare. We haven't been on a mission trip or anything like that back to
Oh yeah.
Mexico in a couple years. It's been a little while. We were supposed to go this last year, but then once everything shut down, we just we canceled our plans for it because we didn't know how long it was going to last and
Yeah.
whatever. It turned out it was a good thing we did because we wouldn't have been able to go. Mexico got hit really, really hard.
Mm.
We know so many of our friends and people that we know, are connected to the churches that we're connected to. Um, man, so many, yeah, too many people, man, passed away or got really, really
Mm.
sick, and lot of pastors, a lot of pastors in Mexico uh, passed away this past
Oh,
year. Um, and so, but anyway,
wow.
um, it's Yeah, it's heavy, but
Yeah.
um
Were you guys going pretty frequently to Mexico before the pandemic hit?
for a little while we were going just once a year.
Okay.
Not more often than that. We'd go once a year for just like a couple weeks. And yeah, typically like we would spend a lot of time in the Mexico City area, or we actually have a church campus in Texcoco, which is
Cool.
just about 40 minutes or so outside of Mexico City. And so we started going down there and spending a few days with our church, with our pastors down there. And yeah, like the first time we went, I think we took a team of like 13 people or so. Like 2 years we took sort of a couple years we took sort of a larger team. I think one time we went, there were only about like 6 of us. And both of them were awesome, for different reasons. Like, it's cool when you go with a lot of people for obvious reasons, but it was kinda nice going with just, like, a handful of people as well, and then you have an opportunity, like, with those that you're there with to kinda connect a little bit more deeply, and obviously, logistically, it's easier to travel, so we got to do a little bit more and more, like, impromptu stuff where, like, we had a free afternoon, we were able to, like, "Oh, let's go check out these pyramids," and just like do different things like that if you've got 13 people, you've got to get a bus, or you've got to figure out different things. And so anyway, it was just it was fun,
Yeah.
really really great experiences. And but yeah, it's we were prior to all this, we were in Mexico at least for like a long weekend at some, for some kind of conference or ministry trip or something like that. But it's been a while since we've been able to, or yeah, since we've done anything like that. So I'm kind of like itching to go somewhere,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I love traveling, and I haven't been back to Mexico. I don't know. I think it's been at least 4 or 5 years.
Hmm.
So it's been, I don't know. I would really love to go and maybe just travel for a while in Mexico.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
yeah.
Well, so you've got a set coming up at 4 a.m., right?
Yep. Yeah. 4 a.m. Central Time. It's crazy because sometimes we'll have the midnight set, 2 a.m. set, or a 4 a.m. set. So
Okay.
it's one of those three that I usually have. But yeah, this last weekend I actually flipped my schedule because I'm taking like an online class, and it's just too much to do. Like to
Yeah.
try to like sleep in the middle of everything, and I don't know. So I was just like, I'm gonna take a few nights off and just kind of flip my schedule. But now, yeah, tonight I'm flipping my schedule back. So if you
Yeah.
tune in, I'm falling asleep. That's why. While
That's
I'm
why.
singing. Yep.
Well, yeah. So, if you're listening to this, watching this, if you happen to be awake at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to ihopkc.org. Click on the link to watch it now, or go to YouTube. You can just YouTube it, ihopkc. It should come up. And yeah, check out that 4 a.m. set with
Yeah.
Aaron Hall and the team there. Um, yeah, man. So, well, thank you, buddy. Really appreciate you. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for your time. Thanks for being here, doing this with me. And yeah, just let me
Yeah.
know how
Thanks
those
for inviting
tacos
me.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. And no, thanks for inviting me. It's been really good to catch up. And I'm looking forward to next time. Hopefully, not too far out.
Yeah, man. Keep me
Yeah.
posted. I definitely want to get you back on. Either somewhere around, even if it's before I said after, just so that we could actually
Yeah.
maybe promote it a little bit more. But yeah, I'd love to get you back on and talk about more exclusively like that project that you guys
Yeah.
worked on in Uganda. That just sounds amazing. And yeah, man, I'd love to do that with you. So yeah, just let me know, keep me posted, we'll do that. So thanks again, man. Have a good
Yeah.
night. And you don't have to disconnect just yet, but I'm gonna shut this down. So
Okay.
thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.